everyone, Gaming Smiler here, and welcome to my review of Halloween Resurrection. And this film, other than its title, it completely achieved the opposite effect and killed this timeline. It wasn't great, mostly because the story isn't that great. I mean, after H2O, which was alright, I gave it a 7 out of 10, but, 7, but, the story ain't that great. The story is, Michael chases people down in a haunted house. That is essentially the story. There's the characters, which aren't that great. Most of them are one note. They all have one interest each, and that's it. Because you got the guy that's a nerd with computers. You got the woman, the girl that wants to be famous and an actress. A famous actress and well known. And then you've got the creepy guy. Everyone's just one note, have one interest, and that's it. So they ain't really that much of a character. Also, this film has Busta Rhymes in it, and yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, he's not that entertaining, to be fair. He is on the better half of it, but he's not that great that it would save the film. I'd give Halloween Resurrection a 2 out of 10 because the kills are actually good. The kills are enjoyable to watch. It just takes a little while for them to get going. But yeah, this film was directed by Rick Rosenthal, who also directed Halloween 2, the original one, and it's about an hour and 24 minutes long. And trust me, it feels longer than that. When you actually watch the film, it feels longer than that. But yeah. Did I mention it was released in 2002? The music in this film is probably the worst out of the Halloween franchise for me. I don't really like it that much. But yeah. So after all that, let's go into these spoilers. So yeah, if you don't want any spoilers, then don't continue. But anyway, the film starts, well, I should have mentioned that Laurie Strode is back, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, and that's about the only person that comes back from previous films. And you've got Michael Myers, played by Brad Voorhees. I think that's his name. But anyway, so in this movie, it starts with Jamie Lee Curtis giving a monologue about insanity in the corridor and door. And because she's locked up in an asylum, which is a Grace Anderson Sanitarium, and it's been 3 years since H2O, even though it's most likely it's not been 3 years. It's actually been 4, but in the movie it's 3 years, so it's like 2001. So anyway, so we find out about why this film exists. Because if you remember when I mentioned the H2O review, that I would go in to explain how Michael comes back, how he's not actually dead. He never died. He never got his head cut off. That was another guy. Basically, Michael, during the time that he between getting put in the coroner's van and getting put in the body bag, he managed to switch himself with a medic that he crushed the guy's larynx so he couldn't say anything. And then he put him in the body bag in his clothes, and he took the medic's clothes and walked away into the woods. Nobody found that suspicious, just a paramedic we're just walking into the woods. But anyway, so as I said, it's been 3 years, and Michael, we see Laurie, right, and she's in her cell. She's being given pills, and she's pretending to be unresponsive. But actually, she pulls a Misery where she takes the pills and she puts it in something, because how Misery, the guy whose name I can't remember, he puts the pills in the mattress. She has a doll and she puts it in the doll, and there's a fuck ton of them. And she obviously knows that Michael ain't dead, and that's just some random guy. So she's always on her toes, trying to see when Michael will come. But anyway, we end up meeting this inmate who's he's just he's just batshit insane, obviously. I mean, obviously it's an asylum. But anyway, he's obsessed with serial killers. And he pretends to be John Wayne Gacy. And yeah, he sneaks up on a security guard and scares him. He's wearing a clown mask. It's a fake out scare. You think it's going to be Michael, but it ain't Michael. But anyway, Michael makes his way into the asylum. He gets spotted by a security guard on the camera. They go down to the basement. Well, one goes down to the basement, the other one decides to go and get something because he didn't see him on the cameras. Anyway, so the guy at the vending machine decides to go and check out the basement, and he finds in the washing machine is his partner's severed head, and he trips over his partner's body when he steps back. And then Michael does his reverse pull-up thing again, comes down and he slits his throat. And then Michael makes his way to Laurie's room, but the inmate sees him, the one that's obsessed with serial killers, and he walks past him, and he makes his way to Laurie's room, as I said, and he bursts through the door, and Michael should have realised that that wasn't Laurie in bed, and there was a bunch of pills again, like in Halloween 2. He should have realised that, because one, this takes place in the same universe, so he should know about that. They should do something like that already. And two, he doesn't just open the door; he bursts through it with his entire body. So I'm pretty sure even if Laurie was drugged, she would probably wake up from that noise. But yeah. So Laurie turns out to be standing near the door, and she hits him in the back with a lamp, and then runs out the door, and she runs upstairs, and Michael comes after her, and then she tricks him into thinking that she's gone near the edge, and there's a metal whip, and she uses a button to pull it up, and it wraps around his ankle and pulls him up, and he drops his knife, and he pretends that he's just another guy before Laurie plans to kill him. So this makes Laurie nervous, and she thinks that she has to make sure, and she reaches out to grab the mask, and of course Michael grabs her, takes the knife off of her, and stabs her in the back as they're hanging on the edge of the wall. And yeah, this is Laurie's death. She kisses Michael and says, "I'll see you in hell," which I think is a bit strange that she kisses him. But anyway, Michael drops her, and she falls down to the floor of the woods, because there's a woods outside it. The asylum, and she dies. And then Michael gets up and he leaves, and he gives the inmate that's obsessed with serial killers the knife, and the guy basically tells us when Michael's birthday is, which I believe is the 19th of October, if I remember right. Yeah, 19th of October 1957. So anyway, Michael leaves, and then we get a title card. And then next thing we know, we're at Haddonfield University on the night before Halloween. And yeah, this is where we meet our protagonist, who's at a psychology lecture, and they end up talking about the boogeyman, and the subconscious mind and the boogeyman, and she mentions the shadow that some psychiatrist I don't remember the name of said. And yeah, she passes the question. But anyway, so she ends up meeting with her friend Jen, who's, as I said, is the one who wants to be an actress. Because remember, I said all these characters are one note. And we run into Rudy, who's another one note character who's obsessed with kitchens and food and making stuff. So anyway, Jen tells them that they're on the show. Basically, Busta Rhymes plays a guy called Freddie Harris. I think that's his surname, Harris. And he runs a company called Dangertainment. And basically, they're on a show that's a live stream that is set in the Myers house. Where Michael killed his sister, and all that. All that stuff from the first Halloween. But yeah, they want, basically the entire point is to figure out why Michael is the way he is. And yeah. Anyway, so I don't think it was a good idea to do a live stream in 2002. The entire point of it being a live stream is so that people can, take a look at different cameras and see. And yeah, that's basically the idea. So Sarah's a bit hesitant, but the other two are obsessed to do this. And Rudy literally says, we'll be bigger than the Osbournes. And I don't even know the actors. I don't know the actors' names, and I looked up the cast. I don't know their names, so even if I don't know the real ones, I don't think their characters are going to be bigger than the Osbournes. But anyway, well, they'll be deader than the Osbournes anyway, apart from maybe Sarah, because, you know, she's our main character. Main characters don't die in Halloween very often. But, yeah, so, but Sarah ends up having this geeky guy that she emails, and his entire personality is geek, who has never had a girlfriend. He's basically really good with computers, but he's really unimportant. But yeah, so basically, she's emailing him, asking him if he's going to watch the first episode, and he's like, yeah, but then his friend who's with him is like, well, actually, there's this Halloween party, and do you know how hard it is for people in our year to get into those kinds of parties, and blah blah blah. And anyway, he's like, nah, your sister invited us, it doesn't matter because you were going to tell him, and he's like, well, we're still getting in. So yeah, it's pointless, not important, doesn't matter. But anyway, we end up meeting Busta Rhymes' character, you know, Freddy, and he's like the only person with like a little bit of a personality or charisma. Everyone else is just really douchey and pretentious and one note. And you have your creepy guy who basically talks about how Michael Myers is like us all. You know, he can, like anyone else, he could snap at a moment. Like anyone could snap like Michael at any moment. And, you know, all that shit. And you've got Rudy who says the reason that Michael is the way he is because he had too much meat in his diet. I don't know. I don't think having a little bit too much meat in your diet means that you go on a murder spree. Pretty sure it's psychological and not got anything to do with the fucking stomach or anything like that. But anyway, there's also this character who compares him to the environment. Yeah. As I said, pretentious and stupid. But anyway, and one note too. Anyway, so it's Sarah's turn to get interviewed, and she screams because she gets jump scared because some dumbass with a camera accidentally knocks down a light right behind her and it explodes, and she screams really loudly, which is kind of funny because the actress couldn't scream. She couldn't scream at all, so it had to be dubbed in post. But anyway, she screamed really loudly, and Freddy's like, that's what I want. I want people that can scream. Because, you know, it's got to be entertaining. But, and when you want to do something that's a horror, that's entertaining, you want people screaming. But anyway, she goes to Freddy late at night, and he's watching some karate movies, kung fu movies, whatever type of martial art it is. And, yeah, this is kind of foreshadowing for later. It's kind of a little bit important. It's also dumb as a reason of what happens later. But anyway, so she basically says, I want to not do this, and Freddy's like, well, actually, you're the best, they're all posers and blah blah blah. He gives her a motivational and inspirational speech to keep her on the show, and she decides to stay on the show, and it's the next day, and they suit up and all their gear. They have like these first person cameras that they attach to the sides of their head, and they've got all the equipment on like a vest. And anyway, so there's a guy rigging up cameras who went to the same media school as Steven Spielberg. Anyway, he's trying to get some good camera angles, and Michael kills him with a tripod. And I like that kill. It's very nicely done. But anyway, you have Nora, who's played by Tyra Banks, who's a friend of Freddy's, and she's basically dancing and making a cup of tea or coffee or whatever as he's getting murdered. So she doesn't see it on the screens, and Michael sets it at a really good angle so she doesn't get suspicious. But anyway, So after that, everyone basically there's a guy who talks about product placement, because this is going to make so much, like this is going to, everyone's going to tune into this and all this, because Michael Myers and it's Halloween and blah blah blah. Anyway, so after that, Freddy tells them that everything that they see inside the house is real, which means that it's all bullshit anyway. Whenever you see something that's to do with like a horror show, it's usually bullshit when they say it's real. Like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where it says based on true events. It's not. But yeah, it's just a marketing ploy. But anyway, they all get sent into the Myers house, and they ain't allowed to come out until the show's over, and which isn't a good idea. But anyway, they enter the house, and Rudy goes straight for the fucking kitchen. Just straight for the kitchen. Remember I said one note? Yeah. Anyway, so he goes straight for the kitchen, and he goes into the spices, and basically, after they think that it's 40-year-old spices, but it smells new, but it, because it is new. But anyway, there's this guy who hits on a woman, and it doesn't matter. That's all he does until he, inevitably dies. Anyway, so Rudy pulls out a chef's knife, and he's like, "Do you think this is the one that he used to kill his sister?" And then Sarah raises a point of it would be in an evidence lockup, which yeah, they're not all entirely stupid. Well, mostly Sarah. But anyway, they end up finding a high chair with leather straps in the cupboard, and they actually think that Michael's family used that on him. No. But anyway, so remember how I said about the Halloween party? We cut to the Halloween party. Geeky nerd guy is wearing the John Travolta get up from Pulp Fiction, and his pal is dressed up as Samuel L. Jackson from Pulp Fiction. His name's I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I have seen Pulp Fiction, don't worry. Fucking great film anyway. But anyway, so nerdy guy just decides, fuck this, and hides in the office to watch the live streams. And yeah, that's about it. In the Myers house, they're all lighting candles, and they go to Judith's room, and this guy the creepy guy gets really into describing everything that happened to Judith. And everyone's like, oh no. But anyway, he tries to convince Jen to get her boobs out, and she plays a prank on him, making it look like she's gonna, he basically tries to convince her by, saying, you'll light up 1,000 screens, and you'll have an immediate fan base if you get your tits out. But then she's like, oh really? And then she's like, nah. And he's killed kind of straight after, because Michael busts through Judith's mirror, grabs him and stabs him in the back of the head and drags him back through. Yeah. It's sudden. And yeah. It's quite sudden, and it's why this film isn't a 1 or a 0. But anyway, because the kills are alright. But anyway, Jen, basically there's a bit where after this, there's camera problems, but in that study at the Halloween party, 2 people come in, guy and a girl, and they're drunk, it's a Halloween party, and they're trying to get somewhere quiet. Anyway, they're about to do it on the table, and then they realise the nerd's there, and the guy gets really angry, and he's like, I'm going to kick shit out of you. And he's like, well actually, I'm watching this live stream here, and then they go, wait a minute, is that the Myers thing? And he's like, yeah. So then they just decide to watch it. Well, she decides to watch it, and he's like, okay. So he sits there and watches it. But anyway, so Michael's still there. But anyway, Jen causes a jump scare. She screams and causes everyone to go, what the fuck, what's happening? And they get through, and she just goes boo, scares them. And then this comes into play later, and it's a good bit. But anyway, so they start to see things that kind of, suspect that this is all bull. Basically, two of them find a hatch in the basement, and it turns out that attached to this, to the high chair that I was talking about, there's a giant key that can open this hatch. Yeah, it's dumb, like no one saw that. But anyway, they open the hatch, they find this metal harness, and the two of them decide that since there's no cameras down there, that they have some alone time, meaning that they can be together, and they start undressing each other. And I think they forget that they've got the first person cameras on. But anyway, they toss the cameras away, and the cameras literally look at them. That's how it lands. It lands with the lens facing them as they're getting ready to go down on each other. Anyway, the wall busts through, and these two bodies fall through. They're fake bodies. They figure this out when they see a made in Taiwan barcode on one of the arms. Yeah, what a way to ruin the immersion. Anyway, so he fucks off, and she's left down there on her own for a bit. And he goes up and to fight everyone else. And everyone else is starting to figure out it's bullshit because everything's too conveniently weird and creepy and unbelievable. But anyway, so Busta Rhymes decides to walk in dressed as Michael Myers, and Michael Myers, the real Michael, follows behind him, and Busta Rhymes goes apeshit at Michael, thinking that he's the guy who set up the cameras, and he screams at him about how he's fucked in the head and how it's gonna be ruined if they're both seen together, him being Michael and Michael being there. So he tells him to fuck off, and Michael takes it. Michael just stands there and he's like, alright, whatever, fucks off. What the fuck? Michael would just fucking kill him, but no. So Michael fucks off, and I believe this is where he kills Nora. But anyway, so, as I said, the woman in the basement finds a hole behind the hole in the wall. Basically, there's like this hole in the wall, and then there's this hole behind said wall. But anyway, she crawls through there, and she thinks it's all bullshit until she touches a rat. She finds a bed. She thinks this is all bullshit until she finds a rat that's just been freshly killed, and she touches it, and it twitches, and she gets scared, and then Michael shows up, and they have a chase down there. She ends up at a gate with a spike in it, and Michael picks her up and impales her on the spike. I don't think anyone saw that one. I don't think anyone was watching her camera. But anyway, so after that, let me find where exactly I am. They think it's fake. Like, they think that all the kills are fake until it's just Sarah. But yeah. So basically, everyone knows it's bullshit, and Jen and Rudy end up deciding to have some weed through the bong. But yeah, then Sarah gets grabbed by Michael Myers, but it's Busta Rhymes, and we find out when he gets hit in the back by Rudy. No, not Rudy. By the creepy guy. By like a small lamp or something, that it's Busta Rhymes, because he gets angry because, how dare you hit me when I'm dressed as Michael Myers in the Myers house, grabbing somebody. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense, Freddy. But anyway, so he tells him it's all bollocks. They cut the cameras so no one sees. He's like, if you play along, you'll get a fuck ton of money, and you'll have a good time. But anyway, so they all think, as I said, it's bullshit. But next, Jen screams for real this time, but they don't think it's real. They think she's playing another prank, and then Michael steps in and decapitates it with like one swing of his chef's knife, and her head just falls downstairs, and everyone starts laughing at home because they think it's practical effects, but it ain't practical effects. Well, it is practical effects, but in the universe, it's actually her head. But anyway, so they run away, and Rudy ends up getting into a fight with Michael, a one-on-one fight. But this is after a creepy guy tries to take him on, and Michael just grabs him by the head and squishes It's like that kill on Friday the 13th. Can't remember which one, but the eye doesn't pop out this time. He just squashes his head. The only reason that eye popped out is because it was advertised as 3D. But anyway, then we get the fight with Rudy, and Rudy's fighting him in the kitchen. Why am I not fucking surprised? Anyway, he pulls out two knives and he tries to swing at Michael, and Michael's just doing dodges. You know, he's doing quick dodges, avoiding every strike. Michael grabs his arms, pulls him down, takes the knives and stabs him in the chest with them, and puts him on a door. You know, he turns him into a door decoration. Then he takes another knife from a drawer and stabs him right in the chest with it. You know, he dies, and then it's just, pretty sure it's just Sarah now. Sarah and Buster Rhymes. But anyway, so Sarah goes and hides in a room, and she starts getting messages from her geeky friend saying that, oh, Michael's you know, he's in this area. Basically, they use text to tell her where he is, and she escapes through a window. At least she tries to. But yeah. So they end up moving about. She gets out the window, and Michael comes out, and he starts doing the slashing wildly thing that he done in H2O. But Sarah kicks him in the head, and she keeps moving along. She ends up getting into the attic window, and that's where she finds a couple of dead bodies. You know, that's where she finds the one in the mirror, and I think that's where she finds the one that got impaled as well. Where she finds the one that got impaled as well. Anyway, she crawls down the ladder. I forgot to mention, Jen screams not because she sees Michael Myers, but it's because one of the bodies comes down out the attic, and it's on the ladder. Anyway, she crawls down there, and she makes her way along, but then she gets grabbed by Buster Rhymes, and he's basically like, well, shit, we're in a bit of a problem now. So yeah. So Buster Rhymes tries to help. Tries to help her, and he ends up kicking. Anyway, Michael ends up getting a cord wrapped in his neck and kicked out of a window, because Buster Rhymes knows Kung Fu or karate. Well, it's karate, but anyway, she gets kicked out a window, and they're like, well, he's dead. He's still alive, which obviously, because it's Michael Myers, and you probably would tell because he's still holding the knife. Anyway, so they go down into the basement, and they get into the hole, and Michael comes down and he falls after her. This is after Buster Rhymes gets stabbed in the shoulder twice. This doesn't kill him. This usually would kill anyone else, but it doesn't kill him. But anyway, so she ends up finding a manhole. She climbs up, and she slips on Nora's blood, because Nora's hanging there and she's just bleeding out. She's dead already anyway. And yeah. So she hides in a crawl space when Michael comes through to the control room, and so she ends up fighting with a chainsaw. That doesn't work very well. Buster Rhymes shows up. He decides to start having some karate. He has a karate fight with him, and then there's a fire, and then Buster Rhymes ends up tasing Michael in the balls with a cable, and he says, "Trick or treat, motherfucker," and then he says, "Happy fucking Halloween, Michael." As he runs off with Sarah on his back, and then they get swarmed. They also Michael ends up stabbing her in the leg as well. But anyway, this is before she gets in the manhole cover. But it doesn't matter. She's perfectly fine. So the police arrive, and the news agents arrive, and apart from the motivational speech, this is probably one of my favourite moments to do with Buster Rhymes, where he basically tells the reporters to fuck off and leave her alone, and they ask him how he feels, and he says, "Feel this," and he assaults them. Anyway, he taunts Michael, who's in a body bag, and anyway, that's the end for Sarah and Buster Rhymes. And Sarah says thank you to her geeky friend, and she says it on the news. She doesn't message him, but she thanks him, and then we cut to the coroners at the morgue. She knows what's up when they say that this is Michael Myers. She knows not to get too close. Anyway, she opens the bag and she touches the mask, and Michael's eyes open up like that, teasing another sequel that never came because this film fucking sucked and caused Michael Myers and the entire Halloween franchise to die for about 5 years. And and Michael would come back in the completed remake of the original movie by Rob Zombie, which ain't too bad. But anyway, it's definitely better than this. Definitely better than this one. But anyway, with that, can we just stop calling franchise films Resurrection? It never fucking works. There's no franchise that has a film with the franchise name and then Resurrection that's actually good. If you're gonna call your next movie in your franchise Resurrection, don't fucking bother making it. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this. If you did, leave a like. If you didn't, do what you do. And if you're new here and you want to help me out, why not the subscribe button? And if you want notifications, you got to hit the bell because that's a thing. And I'll hopefully see you next time. And goodbye.